So sure, she runs fine, but does she look fine? The detail's there, but in the history of all model railwaying, every single engine can have something done to it to make that bit more realistic. And yes, I'm on about detailing. Detailing and painting those details to make your engines look far more like the real thing and give them that extra bit of character and make them more unique than they already are. So, in this realism feature, we'll take a look at locomotive detailing and how you can do it yourself. Now, we're in the workshop and let's do a quick run round of the kind of things we'll be needing for this super detailing job. So, now that we've looked at some of the bits and pieces that you need for the detailing, we'll go on to the first thing that I always do, and that's the metal detailing. So all I'm going to do is, very basically, paint the smoke box details of the engine, the coupling, the handrail, possibly the top of the chimney, these washout plugs just here, handrails down the side of the cab there, silver details inside the cab, silver screws and nuts on the tender, a few brake pieces on the tender under frame, a few bolts on the top of the tender, and a few of these steps and lights on the back of the tender. For all these details it's much the same. You need a wettish brush with a small amount of your silver paint on the end, and you gently do very precise, slow strokes. Make sure your hand isn't wobbly, and slowly go over all these silver areas, being very careful not to touch any parts you don't want to paint, because that is a pain. It's okay if it's black because you can paint over it, but do be especially careful when you're painting the handrails of the engine. Use only the tip and make sure you don't get it near the engine. Maybe a useful tip is to tip the engine on its side and have the brush parallel to it like this. Just be very careful not to get it on the engine. Nice and slowly. And that's how you do all the silver areas in a nice base coat. Right, so that's the smoke box door done. The handrails along the side, bit of details along here, handrails on the cab side there, details in the cab, bits on the tender, bits on the top of the tender, under frame of the tender, back of the tender, and also some of the steps on both parts. We'll now move on from the darker shade of silver to the lighter shade of silver. Remember at this stage that you can do any parts that you want to in silver. It's a very general shade. When doing these highlights you can just pick out the very small areas, they're only very slight, and that really enhances the look and makes it more realistic. So, with the silver details done, we'll now move on to gold. And again, for the gold details, which is just the little bits on the handrail, lots of the pipes in the cab, a few of the bits on the tender, it's a very simple method. You take your smallest brush, loaded with paint at the end, and very carefully for the handrail fittings along the body again, just paint over them so you can't see any more black. And for pipes and things inside the cab, Just be very careful while you paint up those pipes. Now here it doesn't matter if you spill it too much, I've done it so there, but you can go over that in black. It's just the bodywork that's the main place to watch out. If you want to highlight the gold, which isn't essential, you just take a lighter shade, get a small amount, and just go over the top of that gold. With the gold details done, we'll now move on to the red. Now the red needs to be base coated in white so it gets that brilliant red colour to it. So we go into the cab, which may need to be any pipes and handles in the cab. As you can see there, I'm just base coating some of these wheels in white. So leave those to dry. Also at this stage, if you've got lamps at the back pre-fitted like they are on Tornado here, you can paint these white at the same time all over, because the red light will go nicely on top of that. So, with the white all done, we can now go over it in red, and you can see that really makes a vibrant colour. So you go all over all the white base coats in red, and that will work really, really well. At this stage you can also use a black wash or just watered down black paint and put that in the washout plugs to make them used as they would be. You can also do the dials in a very lightish blue colour and lighten that if you want, and add the red parts too, the needles. So there we are. And finally you can do the tender cap, which is just an all-round gold. So with that tender cap sufficiently highlighted up in gold, we can now add a black wash. It can be watered down black paint or inky wash already, and generally just swill that about the whole cap. Now that's layer 1, so we'll give that a good 10 minutes to dry. Also, if you want to, you can add a small amount of brown wash to these steps up the tender to show where the crew members have trod. With the black now dry, add a very small amount of brown wash, just the middle, to finish it off. And once that's dry, that's the water cap on the tender done. With the tender cap painted, it's now time for some of the finer details, and in this case with Tornado, she doesn't have windows where I think she should. So I've got some clear plastic here. This is from a station kit, but you can get it from anywhere. You could even use cling foam if you were desperate. So I'll just cut that up into some window pieces, and there we are. So I'll now fit these in with a bit of PVA glue. Now just apply it around the outside of the windows very carefully, and we can then stick those inside. So there we are, and there's one window fitted, and I basically just put PVA glue all around the outside, and gently with your finger or a paintbrush you can slide it in. You can see there's a bit of glue that's round here and smudged on the window, but that might dry clear, or we could rub it off with a damp cloth once you're done. With the windows now done, we can move on to fitting the crew. And here are the two crew members. They usually come with the engine nowadays, but sometimes they don't. But you can buy them separately in super detailed packs or get them elsewhere. Even rig in some other non-railway related ones. I have painted these, but you can leave them black if you want. They're fairly easy to paint. So all I do is I use a bit of plastic glue. You could use PVA glue if you're desperate too. And just generally do the driver first, but in the case of Tornado I'm doing the fireman. And same for the, and just position them where you can, and they should hold with that glue. So we're now in the final stages of detailing our locomotive. Next up we're going to put real coal in the tender. So put a large splodge of PVA glue in the middle, and then the rest can be watered down from there. So I'll just do that. So there we are, got all the PVA glue on and a bit at the outlet in the cab. So now we take our coal, just get a pinch in the fingers and gently sprinkle that all over PVA glue. Any excess that falls off the side can be swept off the table and put back in the bag. So be quite heavy with this because it won't all stick, but some of it, most of it will, and you can use the excess again. So that's all done. Then just a bit in the outlet box. There. Okay, so that's when it's dry, the coal done. Make sure just before you finish with a fine paintbrush just to cover up any areas on the black where you've accidentally painted something that you don't want to. And there we are, in a cool smart. And finally, all we need to do is fit the lamps from the detailing pack there for Express for Tornado. You can do that with blue tack or super glue if you don't want to change the rolls, and then very carefully fit the vacuum brake pipe. And there we are. There is our super detailed locomotive and tender. Many thanks for watching this realism feature by Will for www.modelrailwayreviews.com, and I hope it helps you in some way improve your own engines. So, until next time, bye!